3, 2, 1. All you, Pape.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Pape, today's co-host. Bienvenidos, ni hao, welcome, bienvenue. I'm today's co-host with Patricia Maliksi, which stands for Agile, and Mauricio Cardona, and also me, Pape. A little story about myself. I'm a creative artist / illustrator / muralist / pizzaiolo / I'm basically just a really creative person. And for the past 8 years, I've been in a journey of self-discovery, discovering myself through art, through self-expression, and currently working as a brand strategist and in Panama City, helping other people like me that want to bring their ideas to life and make their dreams reality through powerful connection, aligning from the inside and manifesting on the outside. And I hand it off to Patricia to tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patricia Maliksi from Manila, Philippines. And about me, I'm a brand strategist. But before that, I was an account manager for our business, which is a brand agency here in Manila called Brand Manila. And I work with my siblings. So my sister is here, Porsche. So basically, I'm working with family every day. And yes, we haven't killed each other yet. We're still sane. We're still loving. But yeah, it's embracing the community. And my journey now is through growth, and I'm really happy that I'm with the community. It really helped me with I don't know, the growth I experience. And just like my manifesto, which is being present, being grateful, and always open to learning. And basically that's my life right now and my journey. So Pape.
Yeah, and now, Jose, to tell you a little bit more about what is the system and what is our mission. Así que, dale tú, compañero. And unmute yourself.
That's a good one. Sergio, can you read our mission and our vision? Just read the slide.
For sure. Our mission to activate, educate, and support a decentralized global creative community in finding their purpose, growing their careers, and leading the future.
Boom.
That's a powerful mission. Mm-hmm. And our vision is to redesign the world from the inside out. That's the system.
And this is co-creation. We're doing it all together. And this is
happening
live. I always feel uncomfortable about talking about CORE, but it's CORE office hours. So CORE Brand Discovery Foundation is really what brings this. It's the sponsor to say coreismagic.com, where you can link to the future if you don't have a kit. Like and subscribe. CORE is Magic. Like and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching this. And here's today's agenda. I'll just set it up and I'll drop us into the drop-in. The drop-in is always where we just share who we are, either in the chat or in voice. Today, it's the preference, since we're co-creating, is to step up to the stage and share the prompt question. A reminder of our broadcast this week, we're ramping slowly down to having slightly less broadcasts every week, but Monday's Clubhouse is going to continue happening every Monday, 5:30 p.m. PDT. We're going to start recording them soon. Wednesday is always CORE office hours at 11 a.m. PDT. Friday, design therapy at 11 a.m. PDT. And we'll update you in the Facebook group if you're not in it. Make sure that you're in it on the schedule, on the schedules. The Systm podcast is on YouTube. Friday, we're doing our new episode, the NFT episode. That's going to be a lot of fun. That is the announcements, and let's go into the drop-in. Name, what's your name? Your location, what you do, and the question is, have you taught CORE to someone? or have you done core for a friend? How was the experience? And I'll let Pape choose who to come to the stage and present you to the stage.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Who do I choose? And does anyone want to drop in or?
Daria raised his hand, so maybe you can use the raised hand if you want to go next, and I'll see who's next.
Okay. Can I go?
Go for it, sir.
Good. Sergio Ariza over here in Buenos Aires, Argentina. It's getting colder now. We are approaching winter. And I've done core for my friends. I've done core. Every time I can do core, I do it. Like the last time I did core, I was drinking wine with some friends. So I always use any excuse to practice and to facilitate between my friends and colleagues. And I taught core to one single person, my business partner / friend. And it was a pretty amazing experience. Like the confirmation that you know a framework and you know how it works is if you're able to tell other people how it works and teach them. So that was a pretty amazing experience. And that's it.
Thank you, Sergio. I would like to listen a little bit of the drop-in from Eric. I think we had some really interesting insights from the last time, so it would be amazing. Would you like to drop in, Eric?
Yes, I'll drop in. Thank you, Papi. And thank you for calling them insights. Yes, last time. Appreciate it. My name's Eric Moore. Nice to see everybody. Happy, shiny faces. I'm in Seattle, Washington, where it too is kind of cold, but sunny at the same time. I'm a communication strategist, and I help people who can't talk about themselves so they can get money to do interesting things. I haven't taught anybody core except my recent client a little bit about how they can communicate using something like the core. So a couple of takeaways that I gave them was the thing that Jose does really well, which is just, do I have permission to have this conversation? And if I do, then what are some expectations? So a lot of that upfront work got from you, JC. Thank you. And it's helped others as well. And I'm done speaking.
Thanks a lot, Eric. And Ewart, I think you're in Mexico. You're next.
Yeah, so hey everyone, Ewart Jackson, living in Merida. I'm still trying to say it right. Merida, Mexico. What I do, I finally figured that out, right? So I'm focusing on cannabis packaging, locking in on that, building right now as we're talking. And core, I'm aware of core. I haven't used it yet, but I will, because that's why I'm here. And I'm looking forward to, soaking it all up. That's it. Peace.
Thank you, Ewart. Anybody else wants to drop in?
There, we have Paul raising his hand on the camera. Or are you waving at us, Paul? I'm not sure. You want to share?
Hey everybody, my name's Paul of Kwalinga. I'm actually in Kenya, Nairobi right now. Basically, I run a small design agency, and where we focus on design and creative work and brand work for different size companies, from large to small multinationals, working with everybody to improve our offering now by learning core. And also looking to just educate people about creatives around East Africa in terms of growing their creative skills and offering design more from a business perspective. So I find core is going to be a valuable tool in which we're going to teach more young creatives how to sell business, because I find like in our region that people aren't doing that. So that's basically what I'm doing here. And yeah, nice to meet you all.
Thanks a lot for that, Paul. That was amazing. And I think David, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure, Pepe, thanks. I'm David Carl. I'm from the UK. I'm a junior UX designer. You know, I'm really interested in core. I have been for a while now, since I discovered it in 2018. I've used core maybe a couple of weeks ago. I have a friend who's an apparel designer who was interested in community and creating a new community that was more accessible and inclusive for designers. The way core helped me is that this client and friend of mine was already thinking of the solution before actually thinking of the problem. And you know, some of the workshops we did, actually I realized when her eyes lit up and she realized that we were systematizing discovery, and that was a real insight to see, you know, her have that understanding that this is a step-by-step process, and you know, every part of core is like one step, and that we don't have to jump to the top. We can you know, we can transition smoothly and pragmatically, I guess. So yeah, that was a great insight I had.
Thanks a lot, David. And what I get from what you said is that we all grow when we do core, like even from like clients, but also when we're facilitating, and it gives a lot of clarity just by practicing. So thanks a lot for that. And next, and I think might be the last one, Jose, not sure, it would be Tyrone.
We have Bjorn who raised his hand, so he'll be the last one after Tyrone.
Perfect. So Tyrone, you come next, and then Bjorn.
Hey, I'm Tyrone Allen. I am based in Atlanta, Georgia. I run a small team agency and that focuses on helping event vendors identify their brand as the perfect fit for their target audience. A lot of them end up doing a lot of B2C work and wanting to go to B2B and working with more corporate events. And so help with that. With strategy, with design, and with brand films. So with core has been great in helping with identity design, but I found a way to implement it with the work that we do with video and producing more narrative films. That's been very helpful with us being able to tell the brand story through the films that we produce. And core has been huge in being able to navigate that and being able to communicate who we're trying to connect with as far as the client's audiences.
Wow, it's amazing. Thanks a lot, Tyrone. And Bjorn, you're up next.
My name is Bjorn. I live in Bellingham, Washington. It's about an hour and a half north of Seattle. I am a budding freelance designer. I'm trying to get like a logo identity design business going here off the ground. Still need to get established, pay taxes to the man, all that shit. I use core to kind of figure myself out. I haven't really used it on any entrepreneur or small business or anything. I'm just using it to, you know, figure out my personal brand out a little more and straighten that out. I'm here for the community, everybody else. I don't actually own a copy of core, which is ironic, but I love the concepts that I've seen, and JC is one of my mentors from the past, so I follow him as my pirate captain, and yeah, that's it.
Thanks a lot for that, Björn. And starting by yourself is a great way to do it. That's also how I started. So thanks a lot for sharing. Before moving on, Jose, I would like to read some from the chat. So Ginder, London, sunny summer time here. I have segments of core, the personas and impact journey at my new workplace. Very powerful when mixed with hero's journey. Sorry if I didn't read it quite good, but that's what we got when a Latino is speaking. And I saw another one here. I think it was Emily. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily, creative agency owner offering brand identity design to coaches from the UK. Not yet use Core, but will be implementing it very soon. Thanks a lot for sharing, Emily. Yeah, I think that's all. I didn't see any other. So thanks a lot. And I hand it out to you, Jose.
Thank you, Papa in Panama City. Today's theme, I'm going to share my screen again, is super exciting because the theme is social learning. We are each other's teachers, and the experiment today will be that all the questions are going to be answered by the community because we have some amazing experts here. And no matter what degree of experience you have permission to share how you've done it. And I'm going to give you some examples of the sharing rules. When you share, you can't give advice. You have to, for an example, hey, you should do it this way. No, that's a no, bad. The good is, here's a few ways I've done it. I did Core for a client X. You don't have to name the name, but you can say for a B2B client. And I tried it like this. This didn't work out very well. I struggled with this part, but this part worked well, and then the results were this. That's a good share, and a better share is always like sharing it to show. Next week, Sergio is going to be showing how he does Core, his version with all the additional modules and things that he's done to it. So Core Office Hours next week, Sergio will be sharing that, and I'm really excited about that. Thank you, Sergio, for agreeing to do that. Speak from the eye, only share primary or secondary experience. I've seen someone do it this way. I've done it this way, etc. And the example is I did it like this. Here's an example. Secondary, I saw Fulano do it this way and it looked like it worked. That's good too. So those are the rules. And now we're gonna go into Core Q&A. I have 2 questions, but we're gonna prioritize the people that are here. So for example, Marcio in Portugal, if you want to share your question that you have, whoever wants to come on stage, Pape will facilitate it, and I'm going to mute myself. I'm Jose Caballer, and I'm complete.
And Simon also has a question. I think he's here from the chat.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. What do I have to do?
Just facilitate people answering questions. Bring them on stage, say thank you, continue facilitating it.
Okay. So does anyone wants to ask any question?
Hello, guys. I don't mind dropping in if you don't mind too.
Go for it.
Okay, everything, Pape, you're doing great. Don't worry, everything seems okay. Patricia too. You guys are rocking it. I left, thank you. I left a question in the group, Facebook group, regarding tips and suggestions that after developing the customer profiles, how to address the objectives that we can create to for revenue, for acknowledgement, and for the company itself or the business. Regarding those steps, what should we do, or what's the best way to approach? I've written some profiles with the entities I'm working with, running Core, but both at the same time, different entities, but it's my first time doing both. So my doubts. I think we're doing fine because we understood the kind of people we wanted to touch the products for who the products are meant. So I think we are asking the right questions and setting the right goals, objectives to further continuing developing the products. But I would like to ask from people like you guys that have already much experience, tips to address this, to create those objectives. For example, I understand that there are long-term objectives, and despite being important, they might not be able to be done at the present moment. But so we give them a higher note, but in a long-term development. If we have short-term goals, we try to set them to be the first ones to be done. So tips to think about the objectives. This might be a little abstract since you're not looking at the profiles, but are there any kind of tips that can be shared regarding that? Thank you.
Thank you, Marcio. And just I will ask some clarifying questions. So first one would be, are you asking how to do better facilitation for the business goals exercise?
Yes. After developing the profiles, how should I approach it? What is the better way to approach those objectives? To enumerate, to create a list of objectives. Is there some specific mindset I should have to try to tackle those objectives? How to approach them? I started, and I think we are going in the right direction. But well, since it is the first time, some doubts emerge from time to time.
And just another question would be: are you thinking ahead, like what to do after having the business goals objective defined? How to work with your customer profile and your business objective to develop the strategy? Is that the question?
Yes, I think I'm addressing it properly, but since it's the first time, it might be a little. I might not be exactly on the right path. I think both entities that I'm working with, they have a great product. I think that's a great starting point for any company that will run core to discover themselves. Then we did all the first steps, those objectives, the characterization, the culture, the X factor, etc. We done all of that, and we extracted the core attributes for the companies, for the entities, and now we developed the profiles for the people that are currently using the products, and the ones we intend to reach now, the bigger audience. We're trying to create the let's say the new audience we need, we want, and now we're trying to create goals or objectives to touch them, to connect with them. So my question would be like the better way to think about to bridge that gap between who they are and what to do to them to touch them.
Okay.
Thank you. No, I thank you.
I think, Sergio, do you want to drop in and share us your experience on this note?
Sure. Thank you, Marcia, for your question. I think it's very important because I got lost in that part too at the beginning when I was doing core. The way I done it before is inserting a user journey exercise between the users personas and the rest of the core exercises. Then you have the business and awareness and efficiency goals. So when I do the user journey, usually I can see each step of the ideal client. That's what I understood that you're trying to get now, to figure out the steps that the ideal client has to take towards the product or service that your company is offering. So the user journey framework works well. What I've done to complement that is what we called last week as the solutions architecture. That is the data matching exercise, including the core kit. Those two things has helped me to identify what I have to do to get to my ideal client in a proper way. If I'm getting lost with the prioritization of the actions that I have to design or make or whatever, I use something that's called Eisenhower Matrix, a version of it. It's basically putting something in a matrix that has in one of the axes importancy or impact, and in the other axis the difficulty or the cost of the action that we are going to make. And you identify 4 quadrants there: do now, plan, busy work, and just don't do it. So the things that makes the higher impact and cost the less, I focus on that first with the client. Then the things that has higher impact but is difficult to work on, I leave it to plan it like 3 months ahead. The ones that has low effort and are not expensive to make, I do it as busy work, something that you do every day, 1 or 2 hours a day, whatever. And the ones that are difficult to make and doesn't have any impact, I just discard those options, those ideas on the user journey. Okay, so I do that for each step of the user journey. And usually it helps me to prioritize and know what to do when and give clarity to my client around that.
Thanks a lot for that, sir. Marcio, does that?
Yes, it helps. Thank you.
And Ewart, did you want to add something to this question, or you wanted to ask another question?
I think I forgot to lower my hand. Sorry.
For me, it's okay. Thank you.
Does anybody else has some insights to give? Maybe Bobby or Mauro?
I have a little memory of a lecture about strategy. I watched it on YouTube, and it was by the author of a book, Strategy, Good and Bad, I think is the title of his book. He pointed out how when you're being strategic, you have to have a doable objective. So it's the way, having metrics is one thing to understand if it's doable. So if the metrics are not based in reality or numbers pulled out of the air, that would mean you have no doable objective. So that means your strategy is pretty much destined to fail, it sounded like. And there's an example in the news where Wells Fargo, the CEO, decided that they wanted to increase the number of accounts by some incredibly vast amount. And he just made up a number and some kind of rhyming phrase or something. It sounded good to him. So all the employees of Wells Fargo started fabricating accounts for customers with no permission from the customers, and they didn't know they were getting accounts. And it became a whole scandal for this vast giant bank. So the objective was wrong and undoable, so it got them into trouble and did a lot of brand damage and legal problems and stuff. That was a bad strategy. I think there's another book, I can't remember the title, something like I Have a Strategy. You mentioned one of the keys to having a good strategy is testing the objectives for doability. That's it. All I had to say.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Yes, I do agree. Like when setting up objectives, make sure they're doable, because that's how you become effective at getting work done. So Cassie, you had a follow-up question for Marcio?
Yes. Well, I just kind of have a follow-up question that plays off of the objectives. I received recently in a core strategy thing that I do for a nonprofit board that I sit on. This is the second time we've done core. Last year it was about a year ago we did it. So we redid like some of the objectives, and I had received a comment that it didn't feel like goal setting. And I think that was because it wasn't necessarily like a SMART goal. And so I'm kind of wondering what you all do as a follow-up to, after core is done, what do you do as a follow-up to make sure you're achieving those goals? Because I'm in this unique situation where I'm part of the organization, so I'm not just doing strategy for them and then leaving and they have to kind of do it on their own. So that's my question. I'll stop talking.
Thank you, Cassie. So your follow-up question would be like how to follow up with the objectives and measuring the progress on the objectives you set during the core session. Is that it?
Yeah, and maybe do you convert them into SMART goals? The whole SMART system, which is it like specific, measurable, actionable, that whole thing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and before moving forward with that, I would like to share like my experience on how I work and I facilitate the business goals exercise for my clients. I tend to not overthink about it because I know I usually know what's the immediate goal I have to accomplish. And since I'm working mostly on brand identity, the first would be like building that brand identity so that I can open up the how do you say, the scope for other work. Like with the brand identity, then I can move forward to work on social media, on web or blog or any deliverable they want to accomplish. So for me, I would just go into the sessions with an open mind and just asking a lot of questions to the client and letting them like think about it. Because if it's, I haven't worked like with really big companies, but it tends to happen that they haven't thought about it. So it's up to you to show them the way of the creative process on how to being more effective in developing, for example, a web page. In my experience, it's really hard to develop a web page without having brand guidelines or without having a really clear idea of what the brand is. So for me, what I would suggest to the client is that we go first for the brand identity, and that would be the logo, colors, type, and all of this, so that I can move forward, And then like in my case, and answering to your question, Cassie, since I'm also building up my clothing brand and I'm working with my business partner, what we do is that we see core just like this open conversation that we keep coming back every 2 months or every month, evenly, like every week, I would say. But what I would start doing is that I do the exercise of the business goals, but if it's a really big deliverable, just like, let's say, setting up the social media, I will start to setting smaller goals and taking action each week to move forward. And after a year, for example, what we do is we look back and we see the first exercise we did, and we start checking on how much progress we've done, like with efficiency, like doing even like things with lawyers, contracts, and all of that we tend not to keep in check, and that's where having a good team member that dividing your energy and understanding that, for example, for me, it's all about the brand identity, the communication, copywriting, and the other business side is my business partner. So yeah, I hope that was useful, and I'm Pape and I'm complete.
So we have another question from N he wants to share it. Simon, are you there?
Hi, Simone.
Simone. Okay, sorry.
Yes. It's
Hi, Simone.
okay.
Would you
A
like to
girl's
share your
name.
question?
Oh, yes. So I've been doing core for a while, since 2014. And now is the first time that I was commissioned to do core for a house of brands, and happens to be a cannabis extremely successful house of brands of 13 children brands. And they started really early in the game, like 2010, when cannabis just started being legal. So their brands became extremely successful, but not very sophisticated brand-wise and brand personality, right? So, and they started with the children brands. They never paid much attention to the house of brands. And now, very late in the game, I was hired to do, I'm halfway done actually. But my question is, I would like to know if, what would be your advice and the process would you take for a project like this? A house of brands.
Thanks a lot for your question. Jose, can you help me out a little bit here?
I know.
I don't have much experience with that type of like answering that question. So
yeah, there's Emily also on our Facebook group had that question. So what I'm going to ask the audience, so I'm going to reframe the problem and see if anybody has any experience in setting this up or any insights or shared stories about it. So one of the challenges in doing brand strategy is like, choosing, we're going through it right now, right? With the system, the accelerator is the accelerator, but I thought should be the Systm accelerator, and that it should be a master brand, and everything is like, Systm something, but then core isn't Systm core, it's core right now, and it's brought to you by the Systm. So we've been kind of like dealing with how do you position and design, the brand without losing the equity of the system. So one of the goals has been to create the system so that it's now a new container that is in the school or that is in the future. So again, I'm speaking from the point of view of like, this is something that we're going through for our own business and struggling a bit to figure that out. Yesterday we had a good conversation about it, and it was like, okay, the issue is just so that the accelerator doesn't sound like a Systm accelerator, which is a computer thing. That was a concern that Keone had. So I'm like, okay, what about, the accelerator from the Systm, with it small up below it? And it's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So there's brand equity, there's the structure of the companies, like how revenue flows, how the companies are incorporated and operate. So there's all these business things that kind of are going into this question of how do you structure a brand. It sounds like, so to clarify and to read it back to you, which is a really good tool, that you have a cannabis brand who is transitioning and started in one form, and now it needs to be a new form. Is that correct?
So it's the House of Brands was never developed. They never did anything with it. So the challenge for them was to have their consumers cross-branding, purchasing from lots of brands, because if they were fans of brand A, they had no idea brand B was made by the same people, right? And each brand has their very, very unique personalities too. So one is targeting seniors with topicals for pain and CBD. Another one is heavy users that just want to party, goes all the way to one that is extremely, very accepted by the LGBT community. So they're shifting now to be only LGBT community. So we have this huge variety of people that love them, but don't know that they're the same company, and they want them to know they're the same company.
Got it. So basically they have a bunch of different brands targeting different people. And they want to now leverage a master brand in order to say, hey, by the way, we bring you this. So exactly. Eric Moore and Jim, if you guys have insights, you have your hands raised.
Yeah, thanks for recognizing me. Simone, boy, that's a pickle. I'm actually going through that right now. I'm working with a client that has very clear brand guidelines, but there's a child underneath it that wants to branch out. One of the things I found that worked is if we just became very, very clear with the language that we want to adopt from that master brand. And then that language helps us to tell the narrative or the storyline. And there's really fun and interesting ways to take the parent narrative and weave it in to these other communities. And so that's one of the areas that we've really focused on versus trying to be overly precious about the master brand, and finding ways in which we can just use language versus visuals and graphics to celebrate the brand across the children, as you put it. Does that help, or did I miss any part of the
It helps a lot, because one of the goals is that the house could never outshine and overpower the children, right? It's kind of like supporting them. It holds together, so they kind of look like a group. And the thing is that when they were created, they were not thought out that way. So each brand, they look completely different. They even joke that when they put all the brands together, it looks like NASCAR with all those crazy logos that don't talk to each other, you know? So it is a challenge. Actually, yeah, I have a meeting this afternoon, I think was God sent that Jose brought us together today, because I have a meeting this afternoon with the founders and talk about the direction for the House of Brands, and I'll be talking to them. So thank you for that. Thank you. It helps.
Thank you, Simone, for your question. I see Jim and Bjorn with the hand. Is there anything you wanted to ask or you wanted to add?
Would it be okay if I added my 2 cents real quick?
Go for it.
In the form of gestalt, Jim, my experience is it can be advice. Does that make sense? You have to share a story of how you've done it, actually done it.
Okay. No, I was going to refer back to a recent example I'd seen.
That works too. Yeah, if you have it from a book or from that works too.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Calendly. You know, the scheduling software. They've recently done a rebrand where, you know, it's quite a complex kind of company. If we look at what they do and how complicated scheduling can be. And what I've seen is that in their rebrand, they've communicated that complexity by almost visualizing the many interchangeable parts that are involved in scheduling. And I suppose what Simone could do is think about the question, how might we visualize interchanging parts of a larger company? You know, the different ways you can visually communicate that. So that was just something I'd remembered, and I'm complete.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, David. Is Jose? I need a little bit of help. I'm freaking out.
Papa.
Yeah, no, Papa. I think to complete Simone's question, I think we should do a brand architecture session with one of our partners. Keone has been wanting a business modeling section that we do in the Accelerator or in general for one of our calls, but one on brand architecture. In terms of some tools on how to kind of address the challenge, right? Mauro shared an audit of a brand space for a brand, comparing it to other people in the space to show his client, and created a logo grid, what it what it looked like in context to the industry and the original brand identity, the logo mark that they had. And one tool that from that experience or from seeing that, one thing that we've done in the past when dealing with that, similar, like comparing what the current brand looks like to the current space competitors in the competitive audit. In this case, the competitive audit is of one company's multiple brands and seeing how they look and feel, you know, and showing the client this is how they're feeling. Then doing an audit also of what the messaging and the one thing we did for brand strategy was one of my early brand strategy engagements was to do the same for positioning. So the brand strategist basically took all the taglines of all of the different competitors and put them on a grid on one slide and said, okay, this is what everyone sounds like. What position do you want to own in this? So right now, if you have a whole house of brands and you put the logos and like what each brand is saying and for who, like, you know, this is for LGBTQ community, this is for older adults, this is for, you know, et cetera, this is what your tagline is, then that would really kind of help. So, and I said I wasn't going to share, but I ended up sharing that. That's a starting point. So then now you have something to compare as you're going into the design process. Doing the audit in this case scenario is important. So, and I see some nods. If you want to add, Eric Moore, Keone Chong, whoever wants to add to that, feel free.
No, just support the audit is super critical, and being mindful of that voice. So I am in 100% agreement, sir.
Bobby Robinson, anybody else have anything on this issue, or we can move on?
Yeah, I'll just touch on this really quickly. And I just want to emphasize Bobby's point. I have a lot of experience in this space. I've been branding in cannabis for the last 3.5 years. I've helped 2 distribution companies go from black and gray market to green market and legal. And with one of those distribution companies, the acquisition and development of in-house brands. They've got about 17 child brands underneath their umbrella. One of the things that I think is really important is to what end the house brand needs to be developed. Are they doing it because, you know, they are trying to really carve a niche out in the market for this particular demographic? Are they doing it because they want to move into a space to compete with some of the larger players in the space? Or are they doing it, you know, just to make things like sales a lot easier? In my experience, sales and positioning around a particular market was the impetus behind the development of the parent brand. And so I think it's really important to understand what those, you know, near short-term goals are, because at the end of the day, every brand, you know, is about maturation and really finding their market fit. And so the conversation that I would do in a situation like that would be to start with, why do we need to develop this parent brand, right? Are we trying to coalesce all of the, you know, the powers and the social equity of all the smaller child brands? Are we trying to, you know, move into, you know, better business development? Like, whatever the impetus behind that is, I would look at small time incremental development based on those particular needs, as opposed to trying to approach it from a very, you know, high level and trying to do all of the things. And particularly the way that cannabis is moving in this space. You know, I have a principal belief that cannabis is really about more small town regional marketing, as opposed to really large, you know, traditional marketing efforts. And that's a whole separate conversation unto itself. But hopefully this can give you a little bit of insight into at least being able to make the next strategic moves. And I'm complete.
Yes, it does. Sorry.
No, that's it. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, you hit the nail. It's sales, and they actually are very interested in being attractive to investors at this point. And it's regional. Exactly what you said. You hit the nail perfectly.
Can I just piggyback off of what Keone said? Like, there's some really huge cannabis companies like Harvest that just got bought out for like 2.3 billion, and they're in multiple states, and they, especially even in just Arizona, they own so many brands, and I don't think the average consumer even knows what brand is related to what, especially with how the licensing is given out. Like here in Arizona, it's vertical integration. So the license holder often runs the show, and there's just no cohesion, and I feel like it's very price driven, and there are very few companies who have true brand loyalty. I've seen a few, but like Keone said, very regional, very localized, and even the companies that are in multi-states, like, I don't know. I don't know if there's that brand loyalty there anymore. It just, there's consistency in how it looks, but not consistency in the product, which affects the overall brand.
Simone, are we able to answer your question?
Yes, it gave me a lot to think about, and I love specifically the part that Keone said, to focus in the little goals instead of try to think of everything, which was overwhelming a lot to me. And now it is great. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's why the community is here. And I think we can switch back, Jose, to the questions that was sent to you. If you have any other questions, who's in the call right now, feel free to drop it on the chat or raise your hand if you have any other questions.
Yeah, let me get the questions from the email. There's another question on brand architecture from Emily Hansen, one of our community members on the Facebook group. And Emily asked, hi everyone, another question about brand architecture. Thank you for all the responses on your previous post. Where can I find a brand guideline example from brands with a master brand and sub brands? I'm thinking in terms of layout, doing it all in one PDF file with the master brand first, including intro about the tone of voice, etc., then move on to visuals and do's and don'ts. So if somebody can, there's a lot of really great examples online. We have examples that we can share in the Accelerator, but like just general examples that are available now online. If people can post a few links in the core tribe for Emily, that would be really great community support for her. I'm gonna put the link to the core tribe so that you can look at her question. It's the most recent question up at the top. So Emily, hi, you're here. Yay. So does that help, Emily? We're gonna get you a bunch of links to samples of brand architecture style guides. The FedEx one is great. There's a bunch of different ones that I've seen online. So let's, brand architecture is a big topic. Put a pin on it, that we need to have it as a theme, and that we need to bring that as a component of our Accelerator and of some of our content coming up next. All right, Pape.
And we also have, and we also, sorry, before that, Paul raised his hand. Paul, do you have a question? You're on mute, or was it accidental?
Actually wanted to add to the brand architecture question, but I'll wait till the next session.
No, do it, Paul. Do it now. Immediacy.
Okay. So I was saying, and this also helps, I think, slightly helps Simone in terms of looking at sub brands within larger one cannibalistic brand. When I work with Unilever here locally, we have a lot of brand guidelines from different brands, but what they've done to join in all their products is actually, as a company, use the brands with a purpose mission. And so even if you have multiple sub-brands, they all have a mission within their sub-brand. So that's how they tie in across all the brands. So every brand has a mission to do one thing or another. So you could do that locally, depending on what works within your local community, and that's how you tie it under one larger brand. And then in terms of working with brand architecture, I was going to suggest checking out brands like Unilever, where they integrate parts of the larger brand within all their sub-brands in subtle ways, be it a symbol or a logo under different umbrellas, and that's how you put it in. This was just my contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Pape, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. I
Wanna drive?
had a little freak out moment.
It's okay. I'm here. I got you. Maybe let's go to the agenda. What's next in our agenda?
Yeah, from a time standpoint, we're almost ready to go to our upload and finish QA. So let's open it up to any remaining kind of questions before we drop it. We go, yeah, we can start closing up, but is there any questions about core or anything that people want to add to brand architecture or to the first question?
Aude has his hand up.
What's the question, Sergio?
No, I just was saying that Aude has the hands up.
Oh,
so I don't know if
We'll listen to you, Aud.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. My name is Audie, and my question regarding core is, for those of you who've done it, what is your guiding principle or thinking when you're developing the summary or brand roadmap? In other words, as you're conducting core and taking the client through it, are you already thinking about the summary and where you want to go with that, or do you completely complete core and then come up with the summary? And the reason I asked that question, you guys were really great in sharing me samples. I looked through Mauro's and Sergio's and Jose. You had a bunch of different summary documents. And as I looked through some of them, especially the ones I saw from you, Jose, was it seemed like you were already directing the client in a specific way. And maybe I didn't read the core or the summary correctly, but maybe some of them were specific to projects. But in my case, I'm developing the brand personality of a small bike shop. And so I'm open to any tips or suggestions on how to pursue the creating the brand summary and how to approach that. So I welcome anything. Thank you. My name is Audie and I'm complete.
Thank you, Audie, for your question. So just to clarify, are you asking for tips or advice to creating the creative brief for after running a core session?
That is correct. Okay. That is correct, Pape.
Yes. So just to share from my experience, what I've done is, or what I've experienced is that while you're doing core, you're already kind of setting the direction. That's why you're prioritizing. So when I end the brand attribute exercise, I'm already prioritizing the direction of the brand, and I usually tend to take 3 different directions from that. And what I would do, and I think I have an example, but I need some time to find it.
Yeah, while you're finding the example, I'll fill in for you. And this is part of broadcast mechanics. You don't no dead air. The answer is out there for me. I have an idea when the client calls. Ooh, we could do this, and I'm already like thinking in my head. Then I have an idea when I'm doing core. Ideas come up, and I'm like, ooh, ideas come up. But I'm staying present, and I'm not putting them out until the first time I put out the ideas is in the form of the brief. So Mauro's briefs are very similar. He has the visions, but he thinks through his ideas in the brief, right? The brief is the translation is the brief. So he'll put a board together for each direction. The fact that we're adding attributes to it and then putting some ideas next to it, experiment 1. The next one, attributes, ideas, experiment 2. Attributes, ideas, experiment 3. Each of the experiments needs to feel like it's plausible for that particular project, but each has slight variances, like, ooh, maybe we do it this way. Maybe we do it this way. Maybe we do it this way. And then you present it to the client and you let them choose what they like from each of them. And then you consolidate them and you put it into one unified idea. You are still the captain, trusting you to do the work. You can't just leave it up to them and say, if you have a disagreement with the client, which I rarely ever experience once we're using core and they say, you know, oh, we can, I'm thinking about one thing, just one final thing and to be complete. I'm actually thinking of how the three are going to mix together. So I make sure that the three are like complementary. Does that make sense? And there's Pape.
Yeah, so for this project, this is a real estate project I was doing. Is for a really like exclusive target. It's on an island. There's only eight buildings or houses being done. So it kind of falls also into the architecture brand because it's real estate developers. So each project has a little bit of branding. So what we did, like for instance, this is the core exercise, but this is unedited. You know, here is just like having the conversation. Imagine this is where you're getting to know the client, you're getting to know the project. So at the end, I would do like the brand statement, and I start editing with them to get some feedback of how it sounds. Like this, this would be the statement. I'm sorry if it's in Spanish, but basically what I wanted to show you is what I start taking next is it's connecting the attributes that they prioritize or that we prioritize with the client, and start finding a way to mix them to make sense into a direction of brand identity. So in this case, it was like contemporary, conscious of the environment, and sensible. So what I do after that is I start opening, like going deeper and deeper into each attribute and understanding like what is the context of contemporary. When the client is talking to me about contemporary, what I will try to do is having the exact definition visually and linguistically with my client. So I go into deep research of understanding this concept, and I go to, and this I learned it from Keone last year. It was just opening up and understanding the root of the word. And also here what I did, since it's a architecture project, I wanted to understand contemporary into an architectural context and also into a design context. So when I go to contemporary, it tends to move into Bauhaus and all this German and Swiss type and all of this. So I will go into looking for some graphic elements that then I can show to the client. And the way I present it to the client would be in this format. I usually tend to get it cleaner because it does gives the sense to the client that you did some work or you put some work into the brief. So I would make it clearer, give it also the purpose of the brief, and then just show it back to them and understanding. For example, here is the customer profile, and I do this small empathy map of what the customer is looking, what does the customer is relating to, understanding the brands that they're used to working with, and checking what type of graphic design they're used to looking at, how do other brands approach these clients. And I just open it up, and in this case, for example, we had to come up with a name, so I just start adding to the brief with the client. I work it with them, and it's just about getting feedback, so that when I move into design, I have a lot of feedback that I'm always going narrower and narrower and narrower. So when I make the decisions for design, it's usually like it's one try, like not many changes have to come. So I would say from my experience, what I tend to do is just working with the client and doing like a direct translation from the core, but just going deeper into the research so that you can have a clear understanding of what attributes you chose, and having an understanding with your client. Because when they say contemporary, it has to be like I want to think about it in the same way they think about it. So I hope that helped. I'm not sure. I would love to hear some feedback from you, Ori, if that helped or not. And just
yeah, that was wonderful, Pape. Very good, very enlightening. I appreciate you taking time to show the process. The takeaway I heard from that is basically reveal your research and involve the client as much in actually developing that, so that as they see when they actually see the brief, it's not a surprise. They know they have input, and that helped to shape things. So that was very good. Thank you, Pape.
Thank you. Exactly. And I would just to add with that is something that I've learned is that people are not used to, or people do not react really good to new stuff. Like it's a shock into your brain, and it's hard to them getting a handle. And that connection that they have with the design is just everything. At the end, for me, the only opinion that matters at the end, or two opinions, would be the client's opinion and the customer opinion. That's the only two that matter, the one that's buying and the one that I'm helping. So yeah. Wonderful. And there's many hands raised up. I think, don't know who was first, but let's just open mic and go for it.
Yeah, I wanted to, from Audi's question, from my experience and how I do it, in terms of, I agree with Pape with being inclusive with the client. So for that, you are the captain. And so what I do is I set what to expect from the exercises. So I actually have a deck where, for example, this will be our brand attributes exercise. How much time will it take? And what's your takeaway from this exercise, so that before we begin the exercise, they already have an expectation or what they will get out of the exercise when they attend, and how they can prepare for it. I even email the agenda ahead of time. And so I have like 3 slides to explain the goals prioritization, the user profile, define the ideal client, and the brand attributes exercise. And then before the engagement, I also say that for the exercise, this will from our engagement, this will be the output. Like for us, it's a brand brief similar to what Pape presented. So it kind of sets the tone that this is what you'll get out of the exercise, and they feel prepared attending. So having emails ahead of time is also very helpful, and it makes them once again feel included. So that's how I do it from my experience. I hope that helps.
I'd like to say, when I was working in pharmaceutical advertising agencies, we would run into clients at the beginning of the job that would want old concepts, but then they'd start rejecting concept after concept, idea after idea, because they'd get a little bit scared, so they'd want to get run-of-the-mill. They would always say, we've always done it this way, going back to the run-of-the-mill, the safe idea, or the safe implementation of a marketing message and stuff. So I remember Marty Neumeier's quote about scared things or something. How do you know if something is innovative? It scares you. I think he posed it as a question. So that's in the future when I have a client who seems to be against change or feeling a little bit scared, I would have to say to him, how do you know this is innovative? Because it scares you. So if they don't want something to be attention-getting or interesting to the customer, yeah, you can always go for safety, but you're going to be spending money to get something that's ignorable or just average. So that's my take.
Thank you, Jim.
I got a quick question from my guy, Pape. What's happening, my guy? I wanted to kind of go back to what you were saying. You deep dive on certain attributes. Is this something like do do you come up with the attributes with the client and then, you know, I guess return at a later date after you like on your own have kind of done like deep dive on each attribute, or is that something like you do together with the client like right after you do the attributes? So I guess kind of like a timeline on when you do that.
Yeah, thank you, Dexter. I give some time after the course session. My brain works in a way when I'm set to find a solution for something. I don't stop thinking about it. So I'm constantly, I think that's where creativity really comes from. In my head, I'm always thinking about it, but the hard part is to bringing those thoughts into something concrete that you can show to the client. And actually that's my first brief that I've ever done. And I did it thankfully because I was coming every Wednesday here. And when everyone, like Keone was showing the briefs and all of this and what the work we did last year during the circles, what I do when I have a challenge is I go directly into research, and I start like after the course session, I would just like give myself 1 week to start like doing the research and putting it into the slides of the presentation or the brief. But then the most important thing that what really matters here is for me is the customer feedback. So I want to gather as much information, and since for me they're paying me for two things. One is alignment, but it's also for my opinion and my knowledge of graphic design or the way I can search for images and translate those attributes into something concrete. That's where the creative process starts. So what I do is I do a huge research that's almost like stylescapes, but I start narrowing it, and then I present it to the client, and then I get the feedback. And I would take as many sessions as I have to do to get the proper feedback before start designing. That would be, does that answer your question?
For sure, appreciate you.
Thank you for that, Pape. I don't know if Audie is still raising his hand, but I think we can now move on to our upload. So what was one valuable thing you got from today's broadcast? Feel free to drop on the chat or share on screen and raise your hand. Pape, how about you start and model it?
Okay, well, what I got from today was like being on this side, like facilitating these office hours. It was scary, and I wasn't prepared for this. Jose just threw it to me and was like, okay, as I've always said, where the fear there is my task. So I accepted it, and it's interesting because it gives me a perspective of what Jose, Keone, and Mary have been experiencing for the past year, and it's difficult. I have to say, you have to pay attention to the chat, and I cannot see, my screen is not set up in a way where I can see how people react. So I'm looking to the camera here, but I'm only looking at a camera, and it's hard to get feedback. So that's where my anxiety came from. I didn't know how to reach the feedback. So I guess to close would be understanding a little bit more how to manage a webinar. That is a first time for me. It's a big step and a lot of growth. And I thank Jose for the opportunity and for pushing me, not pushing me because you didn't force me, but for asking me and open the door to experience this today. It's really nurturing, and I'm thankful. I'm Pape, and I'm complete.
I think I'll follow. Who wants to go next? Dexter?
Yeah, I just wanted to shout my guy out because, you know, for going in the deep end, and, you know, he really, like, you did good, bro. If you were nervous, like, I couldn't tell. So, like, shout out to you. You won today, sir. So, yeah, good job on facilitating. You killed that.
Same here. I just wanted to add that Patricia and Pape, you guys did great today. You're natural on this. And my biggest takeaway from the session was the conversation around the master brand versus children brand. So that's the kind of project where I'm lacking experience the most. So it's always super helpful to learn about it and see how you guys have done it before. So yeah, hopefully I will be working on those kind of projects soon. So you guys are super helpful for me to learn new stuff and prepare myself for the future.
Paul raised his hand. Paul, would you like to share?
I just want to say since this is my first call and jumping on with you guys, Pape, great job. I didn't know it was your first time jump into the deep end. So Jose, Pape, thank you guys. Patricia, thank you guys for letting us speak, jumping on and listening to you. Pape, sharing your process about, for me, my biggest takeaway was sharing your process about the detail you go into during core and making it kind of your own by going into the deep dive. It's something that we like to call like focused funneling, where it's basically facilitated by insights. So you take something broad and you continually lead the client on a journey down a funnel until you actually distill the pure product of what you need, and everyone is happy because everyone's involved in the level. Everyone's involved in the process with you and with the customer insight. So I'm glad that you're actually sharing decks. Well done. I'm glad to be part of core, and I look forward to hearing more from everyone on the group. Paul out.
Thank you so much, Paul. We're so happy you're here and you participated, and we'd love to have you again next time. And for me, I'd like to share my upload, and then I think I encourage everyone to share if you have, either on the chat or if you feel comfortable, please share on screen. We'd love to hear from you. Is that the theme for today is we are each other's teachers. And I've viewed Jose marrying Keone as a mentor, and being here, putting us on the spot, as I think each one of us sharing today, we have something to learn from each other. And I really love that about our community. So grateful for everyone for jumping in, raising their hand, participating. We love you. We celebrate you. You're always welcome. And this is our community. And with that, Pape, who else wants to share? Or you want to read the chat, because we have the chat is blowing right now, Pape. Take it away.
I'll try to do it Keone Chong style. So, so we have Ginder in UK. She says, "I love the natural flow. So exciting to see Patricia and Pape shine bright. Really great insights today. Impact and effort matrix, customer journey and brand family." Thank you for your share, Ginder. It's always fun to hear. Ginder has been here since last year. I was with her in the first circle, so it's amazing to see you here. Where else? Odi, my takeaways. First, as facilitator, I'm a captain. I'm captain. Share process, be inclusive. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. Patricia, thank you. Adi, thank you for your question. Actually, I would say that asking the question is what leads the conversation, is what helps us all share. So thank everyone for asking the questions. It was all of this was thanks to you. So thank you. Otman, my takeaways, including the client in this research phase of this summary. Adriana, I love this session because being each other's teachers was a real deal. Thank you, everyone, and Pape. Thank you, Adriana. Dexter, I love the energy. Let's spread some light in this piece. Yeah, I got a little lost in the chat. Patricia, can you help me?
I got you, brother. I think we have Dexter. Patricia was like the friend that always has your back and never leaves you hanging. Your timing is lit. Yes, I got you, fam. I got you. If you're struggling, just let me know. I'm here. Marshall, in my opinion, I don't mind having multiple clients at the same time. Or was that an answer to a question?
Yes, that's answering Emily's question.
That's a weird takeaway.
Yeah. That's a fair takeaway.
But we'll see. I think we're good.
No, I think,
with the chat.
David, Pape talked about visually plus linguistically diving into brand attributes. Seeing the deck help with the context of how this could be taken. I'm glad that you got to see that, David, because it's something that I got from the first circles that Keone shared with us and was a life changer for the process. Porch, my biggest takeaway is Pape's deck. Yeah, love the type of design, the type of design, the user profile are used to by displaying the brands surrounding them. Master, thank you. So glad for that. Yeah, and I think there. Jason Shan, my key takeaway today was the Eisenhower Matrix. It was really cool tool. Love the community chime in today. It was really cool listening to everyone and how everyone had something to chime in. Rafa, so good to have you here, brother. Glad you make it. I learned again today that the community is valuable and the cohesiveness is increases. Clear signs of a great community. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Rafa. And yeah, I think we're done for today car office hours. Well, let's have the open mic is open, music, no cookies, because Jose is taking care of his health. So no cookies for anyone, only fruits and water.
Good job, Pape. This is me
Got
right
my
now,
water.
Elmo
Yo,
style.
this was fire. This was so fire.
Congrats all.
How about vegan cookies?
Vegan cookies all the way. Welcome to the Woo side, Pape. You represent the set hard now.
Wait. I'm not done. Now I'm done. Bye.
You have to dance.
Awesome, Pape. And Pat as usual.
Wait, so the new outro is everybody be quiet so that the camera only picks up Pape.
Oh, no, I'm not doing it again.
Okay.
We can spotlight him. I'll spotlight
I can't
you.
spotlight him. Well, I'll spotlight you, friend. I'm gonna spotlight you. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Pape. And Sergio next week is presenting. We'll have more information on our Facebook group. Please join. Here, I'll do a little bit run of house. Here's a couple of things from today's workshop. Workshop, core office hours. If you can share on social media and Instagram, screenshots, what you got out of it, whatever it is. Thank you so much for doing that. Always, oh my God, the Accelerator is lit. We have the first cohort started. Keone's done an amazing job doing that.
Yeah.
Join the Facebook group for that. Remember that the Accelerator, we're really doing our story, which is super powerful. Coreismagic.com, or as Pape likes to say, Core is magic. Like and subscribe. And we are the system. You guys make this possible. We're here for you. There is no system without the individual people that make it up. We love you. Everybody can drop off. Goodbye.
Nice work, Pape. Nice work, Patricia. Patricia, you need to help me. You to help me next week.
I got you. Say whenever. I'm there.
Let's say this. Next week, hosted by Pape and Patricia and Sergio. Next week, Pape, Patricia, and Sergio will be the hosts.
Okay. I have to find.
It's super easy, guys. We're just here amongst friends. Nobody's gonna break anything. Pape, I'm an idiot. I don't know very much, but I just at least know how to host a party.
Keone, unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Y'all are incredible. I love the community. I'm so excited for you guys. Pape, you have grown so much, man. Like, pat yourself on the back, brother, because I'm sitting here in awe and in wonder. So yeah, man, really proud of you, brother. And Iwana, let's connect right after this.
Show of hands. Who wants to share next week? And Bobby, thank you for all the shares on Twitter, man. That's lit. Because Twitter, we haven't really been sharing. Just to give credit where credit is due, Mauricio is running all our community posts. Colleen is doing design. The team in the Philippines, Patricia is helping run the Instagram. This is all driven by the community. We really love you and just want to express gratitude. Thank you for that.
Jim, just go
Thank
for
you,
it.
Captain.
Thank you, Jose.
All right, everybody. We're finishing on time. We're actually finishing early.
That's nice.
Thanks, everyone.
Jim,
Bye-bye. Party or something. Oh, just wanted to show for in the post-meeting thing. I found this at the flea market. Can you read that?
Yeah.
Defective.
Keep it still for a second.
Do not use.
Detective Jew. Do not.
Detective tool.
Use and. This is what. Can you read it? And get the light on there. And it's hard to read. It's an okay.
Oh, nice. I like that. I like the little symbol or theme.
So I'm thinking I found it at the, yeah, that's what it looks like.
Oh,
that's cool.
Nice.
Okay. On Sunday. So I need to find somebody who does letterpress printing. And there's one that says,
you can get those done online, Jim.
Safety.
Yeah, you can get those done online. Just Google stamps.
Yeah.
Ink stamps. Woodcut ink stamps.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd have
Those are
to.
awesome.
I want to like make a pad of paper, like a notepad for somebody who has a tool repair, maybe 12 lines. So you put that tag on your broken tool and write down the analysis of parts you need to replace or the whole process of rehabbing the tool. And then you get a pad of these papers for your repair shop stuff. Because there's the YouTube channel, as a hand tool
rehabbing. Yeah.
Hand tool rescue. The guy Eric, he's in Calgary, Canada. He does his videos and he takes the 19th century buck saw thing and gasoline powered circular saw and rehabs it, makes it like new. So,
that's a good channel. I really like power tools. I don't have enough of them.
Those kind of people.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to jump off. Thank you, Jim. Love it always to have you guys here. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for being a kind audience.
Bye-bye.
You did a great job. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.